Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another great edition of the WSE Lounge. I am your host, as always, Mr. Brian Vaughn. And at this time, I want to welcome to you former Impact Wrestling superstar, also former Lucha Underground wrestling superstar. You know him around the wrestling scene as Super Max Hernandez. Hernandez, welcome to the show.
What's going on? How are you, man?
Oh, I'm doing good. How are you doing, sir?
Just real quick today. I just got back from California. I was helping a new group start a pilot for a television pilot for their promotion. So it was cool, but I'm glad to be home.
Oh, that's great. Can you give us any details of that? Are you not allowed to speak on it, or?
Oh, well, it's a new upstart group up there in Northern California.
Uh-huh.
It's called MPWL, National Pro Wrestling League. And they got some cool different elements. It's going to have some Lucha Underground kind of vignettes and match with some good wrestling. Taylor Hendricks is also a part of the project, so it's going to be pretty good.
So, are they going to be on cable or anything, or?
Well, right now they're doing a pilot test run for WSE.
Oh, okay. Well, that sounds good, and fans, stay tuned for that. I'm sure it'll be very exciting. When did you get your? When did you know that you wanted to be a professional wrestler?
But I want to be a wrestler since about 15 years old. My father was a Green Beret 30 years. So every 3 years we traveled, and we had to move to different places across the United States. I personally was born in Fort Bragg, North Carolina. So I grew up on Northern Championship Wrestling, and that was my stuff. That's all I wanted to be a wrestler instantly after I saw that stuff.
Wow, that's very cool. Now you are the hold on a minute. You are the co-promoter. Sorry about that. You're the co-promoter of the Houston, Texas-based promotion Latino Wrestling Entertainment. Is that correct?
No, sir. That was Wikipedia. Someone just added that in there. The only promotion that I'm directly hands-on involved with is in San Antonio, Texas, River City Wrestling.
Okay, it's amazing what people can do with Wikipedia. They just add what they want to do and just add stuff in here. Because I remember one time I was interviewing Sonya Eddy, who plays on General Hospital as Epiphany Johnson, and I told her, I said, now, I know that you're a registered nurse. She said, no. She said, somebody added that to Wikipedia. I don't know where they got that at. She said, I'm not a registered nurse, you know. But it's amazing what they can do with Wikipedia, though. Now, speaking of Texas, have you ever worked for Booker T's company?
I worked for Booker T probably. Me and Homicide together, we did a couple of tag matches for Booker T. We worked with the Machine Guns one time, and I forgot who else we wrestled, but we did Booker T probably about 2008.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool, because I know that he's got a TV deal out in Texas. I believe he airs on cable and stuff out in Texas.
Oh yes, it's ROH, Reality of Wrestling or something, but it's pretty deep up here in Houston, especially on the south side.
Okay. Yeah, I wish there was more independent wrestling companies that came on down here in Georgia, on cable, but you don't really see that anymore because you just don't. I mean, I remember a couple years back, Burt Prentice had a company. I think it was called North Georgia Wrestling or something. He had a company, Burt Prentice did, and then there was another company that came on for a while that had Gangrel on there. I can't think of the name of the company, though. I think Gangrel was a world champion. But, so what was your debut like in November of 1996?
Well, it was... well, I think I was still Saturday, but he only gave me like Wednesday notice. So I struggled to find some gear, struggled to find some wrestling boots. Ended up borrowing some big pants like Kazam, when Shaq was Kazam in that movie. Yeah, they were pink. But
Oh.
I bought some boots, and the only size boots that could fit me at the time were these glittery silver boots. And here I am wearing pink MC Hammer pants with silver glittery boots. And I'm about 310 pounds, so I just look beyond ridiculous. A very, very humbling experience.
So, back then? What was your name? What was your ring name when you debuted?
Brother, I was so green. I don't think I had a name.
Oh my goodness!
I mean, literally, your trainer tells you on Wednesday you got your first match Saturday. Yeah, you're kind of scrambling. Your trainer tells you when you're at the match, and I didn't think I was gonna have a match no time soon.
Well, I mean,
Brother, we're in a Boys and Girls Club, and these little kids are just chanting Kazam.
well,
I'm begging match to be over.
at least they didn't make you actually sing, MC Hammer songs or nothing. I mean,
Yeah, but still, just out there alone was very humbling there.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that was a classic memory for you, though. I mean, your first debut and coming out looking like Shaq and Shazam, in that movie, and I'm sure that was something very funny that you'll always remember as a memory. A great memory.
Oh yes, I'll never ever.
Now, you defeated George Estrada for the NWA North American Heavyweight Championship in Cornelia, Georgia. What company was that for?
That was for NWA Wildside with Bill Bears, the promoter.
Okay. I'm very familiar with Bill Behrens and NWA Wildside. That's the same company that Air Paris and AJ Styles used to team up in, I believe.
Yes, sir. That's the only reason why I was doing this Texas Independence at the time, and I would do about 1 or 2 tours a year for All Japan. And I wasn't progressing. As you know, you want to progress more, and I wasn't progressing like I wanted to. And Bill Bears was the only guy that was actually straight and said, "I can work on this, this, and this. Come out to Georgia. And you'll get when I get done with you, you'll be able to wrestle for anybody you want to." And so I went to Cornelia, Georgia, that small country town, every other weekend for a year straight.
Wow. So, did you ever get to meet Rick Michaels? You know Rick Michaels?
Yes.
I know he designs a lot of the gear and stuff that a lot of the wrestlers on WWE wear, and some of the other wrestlers too.
Yes. He actually, back when I was a young man, back in those days, I was hot stuff Hernandez, and he actually made some of my gear back then as well.
Awesome. That is very cool. You have worked with many greats, such as the late American Dream Dusty Rhodes, who yesterday was 2 years ago. It's hard to believe since he passed. Also, the living legend Larry Zbyszko, phenomenal AJ Styles, just to name a few. Who was your favorite to work with? If you can name 3, because I know it's probably hard to name just one, but if you can name 3, who was your favorite to work with out of some of the greats you've worked with?
Hands down would be Sting. I mean, I wrestled him 2 times singles in TNA, and both times he wanted to, do such a class act at, whatever I wanted to do in the match.
Yeah.
And just being in the ring with him, when you first started wrestling, this guy's on top of the wrestling world, and you're just a wrestling your wrestling boot, never, maybe some tight, I don't know, barber collars or something. And maybe AJ. I mean, AJ is phenomenal. They certainly fits him because he can have great matches with anyone. He's awesome.
I believe that too, and I remember the match you had with Sting. I know the main event Mafia interfered in that match, and I know that I know you've been in the ring with so many of them and stuff, and to be able to have gotten in the ring with an icon such as Sting, a legend himself, a man who right now is making amazing acrobatic performance in WWE, such as phenomenal AJ Styles, which I had the privilege to go to his final match. He wrestled in Canton, Georgia for Georgia Premier Wrestling against Corey Hollis before fully going on the road with WWE. And then, of course, the Olympic gold medalist Kurt Angle. I mean, you can't get any better than that. I mean, that's three of the top solid names right there in the wrestling industry.
Yes, sir. I mean, and I probably forgot. I forgot, Austin Aries wrestled with him, Bobby Roode, Seth Hardy, wrestled with. I mean, I was very, very blessed to work with a lot of great talent.
Now this wasn't in my questions, but this just come to my mind. I wanted to ask you this: have you ever had the privilege of working against? I'm gonna name two competitors to you because I'm not familiar if you've had the privilege of working with them or not. Have you ever had the privilege of working against Ryback or Jax Dane, known as Wilcox, now in Impact Wrestling?
No, obviously not Ryback, not at all. Because he was developmental, but Jax Dane, I remember showing RCW in San Antonio, and maybe, I want to say maybe five or 6 years ago, he came down to San Antonio, and, he was on my show, and he was actually on the show, and he was doing some things. He's improved leaps and bounds since those days.
So
back then it was a thing, now he's actually producing it. I know Jax pretty well.
Okay, yeah, I remember having him on the show when he was the NWA World Heavyweight Champion at the time. He was Godzilla Jax Dane, and he was quite the unstoppable force, and I think he's doing good over in Impact Wrestling. Got the tag team with Crimson now, the veterans of war. So I think that's pretty good. Speaking of Impact Wrestling, though, back before it was Impact, what was it like for you working for TNA? And at the time, who was the boss? I mean, because I know they went through several of them.
Yeah. I was at TNA straight 2006, 2000. And the bosses, Dixie was in charge, obviously, because she was the owner, but I mean, actual people who were doing day-to-day operations changed. It went from Terry Taylor to Bruce Pritchard to Vince Russo to Bischoff to Big from Tough Enough. I mean, it was like musical chairs after a while.
Now, who was that last person you said? Big from Tough Enough? Who was that?
Big John Gerbrick. He used to be the main guy behind the scenes for the Tough Enough show.
Oh, okay. I know who you're talking about now. He used to be a writer for WWE, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I know who you're talking about. Speaking of those people, what was it like? Because I had Eric Bischoff on the show a couple months ago. It was on maybe almost a year ago, and he was real great. But what was it like for you who would you say you enjoyed working for the most out of Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo?
I had very, very limited access to Bischoff because he was extremely busy in what he was trying to do with the daily operations. As far as our team, unless he was giving you your directives for the match, it was very, it's very hit or miss. He has more than a hello. Had to be because people talk bad about this, about me, he's a good person, and he tried to make things, when you met him, he actually tried to make time to talk to you, and he tried to do things right, despite people saying what the difference they have with him. He did a lot more good than he did harm in TNA.
Now, speaking of Russo, I asked Chris Cruz this question. I had him on the show on Friday, and I'm going to ask you this question, and you can just give me your opinion on this. What are your current? Because I know you're probably very aware of this. What are your current thoughts right now, going through your head about this whole Vince Russo, Jim Cornette feud that they're having with one another? What are your thoughts on that?
I have no idea what this is. I like Vince Russo. I like Jim Cornette. When I was getting the singles push in TNA for that short period of time, Jim Cornette was my go-to guy. He was the one helping me, and he was a great tremendous help. What's going on in their own personal battles, I don't know, and I don't want to get involved.
Okay, I just thought I would ask. Yeah, I've always enjoyed Jim Cornette as a manager. I thought he was a great manager and on-air personality. And as far as Russo goes, I think the only thing that I didn't sit well. There's a lot of things that he did in WCW that I didn't go along with. But I think one of the things that didn't sit well with me was the whole thing when and I know you probably remember when Hogan and Jarrett was in the ring, and then he started using his language and everything else, saying Hulk Hogan would never work there again. And I just thought that was crazy.
That was what, 2001 or 2 or something.
Yeah.
That was like 15 years. At least 5 or 6 years before I would ever have contact with him. So
Yeah.
I have no idea what went on. Hogan was TNA. He was very accessible, very cool. So I don't know.
Yeah. I want to let all you fans out there know if you got any questions or comments for Supermax Hernandez from Impact Wrestling. He used to be on TNA and Lucha Underground. Please leave them below, and I'll direct them over to Hernandez, and he'll be glad to answer your questions. And also be sure to invite some friends. Now, who was your favorite? Now, this is going to be kind of a hard question for you, I believe. Who was your favorite tag team partner out of Matt Morgan, Homicide, and Chavo Guerrero Jr.?
I don't ever have to ask her. I love Matt. Matt's a very cool guy. But, just Homicide was like my brother, and Chavo was just like my older brother, teaching me, the different styles of wrestling. It was great tagging with both of the guys. Me and Matt was more like a friendship. We had a good time, but it's been learning thing for them as far as learning and life was Homicide, and then strictly on the learning and having fun was on the Chavo.
Okay, yeah, I know that y'all did a great job as LAX, and you and Chavo was a great team, and you and Matt Morgan, man, I tell you what, y'all like to kill each other in TNA. I remember that feud y'all had, and I believe it was your head against that post, and he kicked your head, supposedly kicked your head, and against that post, and they carried you out on a stretcher, and I was like, my goodness.
He's a blueprint of what you expect.
Yeah, I know. And Now, speaking of LAX, now this is something I don't know, so I'm just asking you this. I know it may be a little bit controversial, I don't know, but I'm just wondering, why are you not with the LAX right now, Conan and Homicide and the other people right now in Impact Wrestling?
Well, as far as Impact Wrestling, I haven't had contact with them since 2015 when I had a legal dispute with them with TNA Lucha Underground.
Okay,
so,
okay.
That probably, I don't know.
Okay. Now you debuted in Shakira with Chavo Guerrero and Homicide as your partners. I know that had to be very cool for you.
That was probably the time, best time of my life. Because that was my old partner and my current partner. That was awesome.
That is very neat. Would you, let's see. What was it like working for Lucha Underground?
Very, very different than I've worked for. And was nice, they treat you well. They treat you well. I mean, you showed up, there was catering, like snacks, just to get you ready for breakfast. Snacks all day to get ready for lunch. Snacks all day ready to get ready for dinner after the show. They gave you nice per diem money, for spending money to eat. You would want to have a match. Instead of, when you get it back in your bag, you go wash your clothes in the room. You just have back down to the wardrobe, or get your clothes or dry clean for you for the next day. I mean, it was like being a wrestler for a movie set as well. It was awesome.
That's awesome. And I know that they got a Lucha Underground was a little bit different than the other companies because it had like a reality base mixed with professional wrestling, and I know it's very different and everything. Now, something I do want to ask you about Lucha Underground, the guy that plays Pentagon Jr., is he really, in real life, is he really that sadistic, or is he a different?
They can play his character to the hilt. He is awesome. Actually, he's my son's favorite wrestler right now. So.
Oh wow!
Every time I see him, make sure he gives me a new Pentagon T-shirt.
Yeah.
FaceTimes with me with my son. So I mean,
Oh.
Great man.
Well, that's wonderful to hear that, because you know a lot. I mean, a lot of times you're watching, and I mean, of course a lot of times that the heels and stuff, they're some of the nicest people in real life, but he was just somebody that I never was sure about, because I mean he plays such a mean, violent character. I mean, I remember him and Vampiro having that feud, and I thought, oh my goodness, I was like, golly, But that's wonderful to know, though, that he's a great guy in real life, and that's great that he does that for your son.
Yeah, most definitely, man. It's a kid,
Now, can you tell us about Texas All-Star Wrestling and what exactly happened that nobody never saw you compete?
a long story short, two gentlemen that trying to make a name for themselves.
Uh-huh.
That can, the easy way, and look how a year later, look how that worked out for them. They're still wrestling the same shows, still doing the same shit shows, still doing the same BS. They're left with why is, there's too many questions.
Yeah. I got.
I feel like this, if you want to make a name for yourself, cool. But I mean, that was a very, very shoddy attempt. 15 minutes of fame off that has gone away. So good luck in life.
Well, I know what you mean by promoters like that, because I never will forget. This was last year. Nature Boy Paul Lee, legendary enforcer Arn Anderson, Dr. Tom Pritchard, Little Guido. No, I'm sorry. Little Guido wasn't there. It was Dr. Tom Pritchard, Tully Blanchard, bunch of other greats, in the industry. They were all meeting down in, I don't know if you've heard this story or not, but they were all meeting down in Dudley, Georgia. And no, I'm not talking about Dudleyville from the Dudley Boys, but it's just Dudley, Georgia. They were all meeting down there, and they were going to this big old convention. And this promoter, who I will not name on the show, who's actually deleted his account and he got in trouble with the law and everything else. But anyway, this promoter was having a show down there, and he was booking all these major names. I mean, talents like Ricky Steamboat and everybody. I mean, he booked Tessa Blanchard and a bunch of other people. Well, they got down there, and a lot of them. There's about 100 and something legends, I guess, and a lot of guys coming up in the business today, were down there as well. And they got down there, and a lot of them were on the way there. And some of them on the way there, they when they got down there, they had a bad feeling that something wasn't right, So they got down there. Come to find out, the guy did not pay the wrestlers the money. They got down there, and a lot of the wrestlers were, upset. Arn Anderson and Dale Wilkes, the Patriot, they took the guy and took him over. I believe it was to his mother's house, and said, we want our money. And come to find out, he was writing checks from his mother's account, and all kinds of stuff was going on. I mean, they call it the Dudley disaster, because, it was crazy. I mean, so I know exactly what you're talking about on promoters being crooked and not getting anywhere. And that guy will probably never practice again in the wrestling industry for being shady like that. That's just terrible, you even had, this is how sad it was, Hernandez, and this is the last I'll speak on this, but you even had, who the one-man gang is?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, the one-man gang had drove in from Mississippi. It was back when they were having the real bad floods up there. His house was flooded. He drove all the way down from Mississippi to be down there, and left his house flooded. Got down there, found out he wasn't going to get paid, and he was just downright angry. Because, he had left his house like that, drove down there, expecting to be paid, found out he wasn't going to be paid, and then, that's what kind of garbage, that went on, and it's just a crying shame,
Oh.
Yeah.
Forward sliding the business. Oh, how that goes.
Yeah. Where did Supermax come from? The name.
You can credit Mike TNA for that. They came up with that moniker.
Oh, right. Well, that's awesome. Mike TNA, I know he knows the sport through and through. And what I mean by that, I remember watching him over in WCW. He knew the cruiserweight division where Juventud Guerrero came from, and Mysterio, and La Parca, and Psychosis, and I believe he got a lot of those guys on the map, just giving an educational expose on their wrestling history and where they came from all over the world, from the different organizations. And I think he also did a good job in Impact Wrestling, TNA. And I think it's sad that they kind of pushed TNA to the side and put other people in his place as commentators. I mean, because Mike TNA to me is like to Impact was like Jim Ross was to WWE. I mean, he was just a play-by-play man that knew what he was talking about, and now the commentating scene on there is, just crying shame. I mean, now Jeremy Borash, I think he does a good job, but the other two guys that got in there, I don't too much. I think D'Angelo Dinero does a better job at getting out there and wrestling. I remember when he had a feud with Desmond Wolfe, well known now as Nigel McGuinness. That was a classic feud, and Josh Matthews, he's all right. He's fair, I guess. But I mean, I guess they'll do what they will do. I mean, behind the scenes and everything.
Well, that's way above my pay grade.
Now, I do want to ask you two other questions relating to Lucha Underground. What was it like for you meeting? I can't think of his name all the way, but I'm gonna tell you something. He's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time from Lucha Underground, because I remember seeing him in WCW. Yeah, I think he was in NWA, TNA, WWE, ECW. Last name is Sagrada, the little bitty guy, the masked man.
Mascarita Sagrada.
Yes. What was it like working with him, man? He's so cool to me.
He was awesome. I mean, I've known him all for 16 years. I've been wrestling in Mexico as well. So I get the privilege to see that guy work more than when he worked in the States. So it's always good watching him work. He's awesome.
So, how old is he now?
I don't know.
Hey, no, okay. Because I remember watching him when I was just a kid growing up, and I was like, wow, this guy can fly and do all kind of stuff. I remember him in the ring with you remember that guy? What was his name? Porky. Remember Porky? You remember Porky?
Yes.
Yeah. I remember seeing him wrestle Porky, and he wrestled some other ones too. I mean, he was pretty cool though. Now the second question I got for you, I don't know if you're not allowed to say this, then you can just say skip or whatever. But I was just wondering, do you know who portrays the big monster on Lucha Underground that is Del Guido's brother?
Matanza?
Yes.
Yeah, yes.
Are you allowed to say who that is, or you're not allowed to say?
Well, I mean, it's pretty much push two and two together because he really admits who he is. He's just he's an actor, but he's a West Coast wrestler named Jeff Cobb. He's a really good guy.
Okay. And my last question for you is, right now on the WWE and Ring of Honor roster, if you had to pick one guy from Ring of Honor who you've never fought, and one guy from WWE who you've never fought, who you would want a dream match with, who would those two guys be, and why?
Well, Brian, I don't watch neither show.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Watch Lucha Pop, stuff like that. And maybe if it's on some of the channels, because they get the channel for the Impact, I'll watch Impact. But I mean, most of the stuff I stick with is, the Mexican style wrestling, or, like I wrestle in Germany 4 or 5 times a year. But I got 3 kids. I really have time to watch.
Okay. I got you. Okay, so let me ask you this. Let me rephrase the question. Out of everybody in the sport that you've ever seen wrestle that's still living, who would be your ultimate dream match? Out of everybody, whether they're retired or from Mexico or wherever, who would be your ultimate dream match?
Easy. Flair, easy. And Laparca from WCW, the chairman of the board, he's back wrestling in Mexico now, and I'm wrestling him next month. That one gets taken care of, but easily, hands down, I would love to wrestle Ric Flair in his prime, hands down.
Okay. Now, isn't there another Laparca too, an evil Laparca, over in Mexico?
Well, there's the problem is, it's licensed, Triple A, over to Laparca's name.
Oh, okay.
The original Laparca, we're taking the court and stuff like that, not calling it LA Park.
Okay.
But I mean, the Laparca that's on Triple A now is more of a comedy guy. He's really cool, but he is not the original. One from WCW is called LA Park.
Okay, so that's similar to kind of like WWE with the Sin Cara Mystico situation.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, now let me ask you this: do you know whatever happened to El Dandy? El Dandy.
Oh, El Dandy, yeah. He doesn't muscle as much as he used to. I mean, I see him on shows sporadically down in Mexico. He does, he helps manufacture boots down there. I love his boots down there.
Okay, and what about Super Callow?
I haven't seen him in years.
Okay. Okay, well, do you have anything that you would like to promote, any upcoming appearances, how the fans can keep up with you on Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, any other social media sites?
I got social media. I got Twitter at Superman EPM, and I just got Facebook now 8 weeks now. I don't know how to promote. But it's Shawn Hernandez and me in a blue shirt. They're with me on the Facebook. I don't know what I'm doing there yet, but I'm trying.
Okay, well, you got any upcoming appearances you want to promote?
I'm making 2 surprise appearances this month that I can't put the name out loud right now.
Okay.
One in Saginaw, Michigan, and Detroit, Michigan, the 24th and 25th. And that's the end of this month. I'm going July 14th. I'm wrestling LA Park, what we just talked about. I'm there in San Antonio. So that's my biggest matches coming up so far.
Okay, well that all sounds good, and we just had somebody to join. Hello, Freddie. Do you have a question for Super Max Hernandez? Okay, here you go. Here's a question for Hernandez. Before you go, he says, Freddie says, have you ever been offered a WWE tryout?
I've had 3 WWE tryouts, 2000 and 2001.
Uh-huh.
That was it.
Okay, and I guess so that was back when what was it? Ohio Valley Wrestling was down there, or Florida Championship Wrestling?
No, these were trial matches right before Raw starts.
Oh, okay, the dark matches.
Yes.
Okay, so who did you wrestle on the dark match? Out of curiosity.
The very first one was Crash Holly.
Uh huh.
And then the next one I wrestled was Joey Abs from the Beach Street Posse.
Okay.
And then the third one I wrestled Haku from WCW. So, yeah.
Oh wow. Well, I bet those were fun, especially Crash Holly. I miss him. He was a good wrestler, very good comedian of a wrestler.
Most definitely was very solid wrestler, very solid.
Well, Hernandez, I want to thank you so much for being on the WSE Lounge today, sir, and I'll be sure and stay in touch with you, and I hope you have a great rest of the week, and thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the show today.
No problem, bro. Thank you for having me, Brian.
Okay, you're welcome. Take care. God bless. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Supermax Hernandez, former Impact Wrestling and Lucha Underground Wrestling superstar. Tomorrow, tune into the WSE Lounge, because tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to be welcoming a man who is known all around the independent circuit. He's got his name out there. He just wrestled Alberto El Patron over the weekend. You're going to see on the WSE Lounge tomorrow the one and only Man Scout Jake Manning will be here at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the WSE Lounge. So be sure and tune into that, folks, and don't miss it. I'll see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with the one and only Man Scout Jake Manning. And later this week, we got another big show coming up Thursday, and then we got one Monday that I'll be talking about later this week. And I can say that, did I say Monday? I didn't mean Monday, I meant Tuesday. Next Tuesday, I'll be talking about later this week, and I'll be giving you more details on that. But don't forget, tomorrow, Jake Manning, Man Scout Jake Manning, will be here, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the WSE Lounge. As always, I'm going to let Mike Mooneyham close us out.